All right, welcome everyone to Dave Cooper Live, where we bring you the people, the products, and the processes helping us all build it better. Please welcome today Botbuilt, revolutionizing the building process and solving the labor crisis in construction through flexible, precise robotic systems, proprietary hardware, and cutting-edge software. Botbuilt uses the latest technology to implement advanced motion planning with computer vision to build a more sustainable future for construction, forever changing the way the world builds with automation. Botbuilt is a top 25 finalist for the Ivory Prize for Housing Affordability. Finalists for the prize demonstrated ambitious, feasible, and scalable solutions to the housing affordability crisis. So today we are going to welcome Brett Wattis, founder of Botbuilt, along with his two business partners, Barrett Ames and Colin Devine. Before becoming the CEO and chairman of Botbuilt, Brent enjoyed success with his investment firm and SaaS company, creating automated processes for business CRM technology. But before all of this, Brent was also an officer in the United States Army, deploying with special operations units around the world alongside some of the bravest men and women. So before we hop into it, we got to thank our sponsors. This is going to be a great show, so buckle in because we're going to learn how to build it better.
Forward Solutions Group is successfully driving companies to succeed where others have failed. Are you looking to start a factory? Optimize your existing factory, streamline your production, or take your team to the next level? Whatever your needs are, Forward has a solution for you. Reach out to Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. Halleck Ltd. has a long history of innovation in cold form steel manufacturing and producing innovative precision roll forming technology for customers throughout the United States and the world. Check out their machine buyer's guide for off-site modular construction or fast build construction with light steel for framing. Go to their website, halleckltd.com.
All right, thanks again to all of our sponsors. We cannot bring you all of these informative information and discussions about how we're going to build it better without them. So please go and visit them, say hello, let them know that you are there and that you're happy that they are out here helping support us, bring you all these amazing people. So speaking of amazing people, let's get Brent Wattis on the show and let's start this conversation and learn a little bit about how we're going to build it better. What's up, Brent?
How you doing today, Dave? It's good to be here.
I'm having a great day. How are you?
A fantastic day. It's beautiful. It's sunny. It's perfect. I'm a little jealous of where you're at, but that's okay. I'll get over it. You know, that's how it rolls.
Well, you know. So. Well, you know what? We're down in the Gulf of Florida. We took a little break from all of our traveling. Now we got a handful of kids all sunburned, and they're staying out of the sun today. But the rest of us are enjoying our time. So, you know, Brent, we love having people on this show. I really love having brothers in arms on the show that are building it better as well. It's fun to see folks like yourself that came out of the special forces saying, hey, there's a real need to solve, you know, affordability and the housing crisis from around the world. You've been to third world countries, the same as, you know, myself. But at the same time, we see the homelessness in our own country. And that's part of where your passion came from as well. But before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are? In fact, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we will have one of your family members on, and it could get quite embarrassing. Maybe the SEAL team, we'll have them on. I don't know if you want that.
Well, if it was a SEAL team issue, they would have already written a book. So let's just get the shots fired out of the way, I guess, right away. Yes, I was born in Phoenix, Arizona. My mother and father are both professionals. My father is a gastroenterologist, which is just disgusting, but he's very good at it. My mother is an advertising executive, so I was kind of raised to understand those two worlds very well. They taught me how to do taxes and avoid overpaying the government. And then my grandfather is a very passionate business leader as well, so I kind of grew up under his tutelage. By the time I was 11 in Phoenix, Arizona, one of my Little League buddies was a drummer. And he and I started a little band. We got to go tour around and have a lot of fun playing music throughout the 90s. And then by the late 90s, early 2000s, I kind of had enough of that life. Started up an RIA. We started up a SaaS company, did some consulting work. About a few years into that, I had been married, had kids, enjoying my life with my wife and children, was kind of on the fat and happy rich train. And then my wife reminded me that, hey, when the towers fell, you said you'd go and do something about it. My brother was in the first Gulf War. My granddaddy was in World War II. So we decided to sell off the business holdings and joined up to the United States Army. It was the honor of a lifetime. Honestly, it had an incredible time doing that. Got to meet and work with the most amazing people from around the globe. Traveled the world, obviously. Just really got to serve and understand what service meant. Came back. Unfortunately, I'd been blown up a couple of times over in Afghanistan primarily, and then had a couple of parachute accidents here, broke my neck and my back, which was just kind of a time to hang up the boots thing. And I was doing consulting work for a local unit here in the North Carolina area. And that's when my cousin's husband, Barrett, came to me with kind of the idea of a lifetime to really fix the housing crisis, which is something I'm very, very passionate about and have been since I was 4 years old and encountered homelessness for the first time outside of my car window, seeing what it was to suffer. And when Barrett told me that he thinks he has solved robotic automation and software for the housing industry, I jumped all in, left the unit over at Bragg and came over here. And we've been starting basically since late 2020. So here we are. That's as quick and dirty as it's going to get. And you can call my press agent, my mother, if you want the dirty details about the hospital trip.
Yeah, no, listen. Well, first of all, thank you very much for your service and everything that you've done for the country. So I just foremost want to put that out there. But secondly, thank you if you did solve the whole software problem with robotics in the housing industry. We're going to get into that and we're going to talk about that. So this is why people are here and this is why people are listening. And from what I've seen in our conversations, you were at one of our events. You came out to Las Vegas for our private CEO event that we did. There's some real legs underneath what you guys are doing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, who is Botbuilt? What is Botbuilt doing? And then let's hop into the details of this.
Okay. Well, yeah. And first of all, thanks for hosting that event too. That was a great time out in Vegas. So for Botbuilt, really the crux of the issue comes down to how much people are spending on housing. And that has a huge tail, as you know. And when you talk about robotics, people kind of think like, oh, robots will solve everything. Well, they're also very freaking expensive. They're very, very hard to manipulate. And the software side of the house is really where you need to understand your parameters, especially when dealing with something like lumber, which is bowed, warped, bent, bark, all the fun details of that. And robots are great with perfect precision, straight every time. They build cars because it's sheet metal and it's easy. When you're dealing with lumber, you have to incorporate things like computer vision. You have to think about motion path planning. You have to think about collision detecting. And then you have to think about the tooling systems that bring them all together. So for us at Botbuilt, really, I am privileged to lead a team of, you've probably said this before in your life once or twice. When you walk into a room, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm the dumbest guy in the room. Every day of my life, I walk into the office like, oh my gosh, I am the dumbest guy in the room. Because these people are brilliant. And what Barrett and the team were able to put together is a software package that lets us take two-dimensional plans, because that's the baseline, right? If you cool guy BIM stuff, you've got three-dimensional modeling, awesome. But if all you have is a PDF that your architect put together for you, we can scan that in. Our computer system takes a couple of minutes to process everything in. It builds up this panel book. It lets you know how many panels it's going to need to build. It lets you know the dimensions of all the lumber, what you're going to need to buy, what the cut list actually is. And then from there, our robotic arms, which we get off the shelf. We don't spend tens of millions on fancy systems. We literally bought our last system on eBay. Is once an auto manufacturer is done with these things, they're still in perfect spec for construction. We put in our patent pending tooling systems there and all of the proprietary systems that we've built ourselves here, and let the robots plan out their own motion path. And they start building basically whatever we tell them to build from that two-dimensional plan. And then from that, the builder is able to frame a house like you see here those are in Bentonville, Arkansas, if I remember correct. In just a couple of hours, the framing is done with all the walls, doors, windows, and sheathing done.
So, all right, let's take a step back. So I can PDF you my house plan or my building plan, whatever the case is, and you're telling me your software can bring it in, it can read the plans, the dimensions, the size, and then put that into your system, which then tells you how many wall panels it'll break it down into, all the parts and pieces that you're going to need to build it, and also speaks to the robotic arms that are going to actually make it happen on the assembly. Yes?
That's correct. That is correct. And so the panel system is basically just taking in data points that, when you've seen plans get broken down in panels, it's usually a team of engineers working together, and they're finding the most, whatever that builder's needs are, the most efficient path for those panels. Well, that's right. Math. And computers are really, really good at math. And we have people that are good at math with computers. And they've been able to put together a software system that just does that for us and puts it all in, and we let our engineers name everything. So you'll hear me say such creative marketing things like the panel book, which is a book of panels, or the stud plate connector, which connects the studs to the plates. It's very, very complicated marketing speak. Didn't mean to speak above everyone like that, but it's what we do.
Well, you know what? I mean, keeping it simple, the old KISS format, right, is how we want to do it. If we want everybody to be able to help us build in this industry. So, all right, so let's take a step back. Walk me through the journey. So you get this phone call, you say, hey, to your special forces group, you're like, yeah, sorry, I got something bigger and better to do. I'm tired of breaking my back. I've given all, I've done my tours. I've been shot and blown up and all. All right, so and here you go, right? This is a big jump. I don't think a lot of people understand what type of change that really is and a mentality shift from the military to civilian world. It's a big change.
It is. And I would say I had an advantage because I came into the Army as old man Wattis. I came in after being in the business world, thankfully. My parents raised me to be in the business world. They were a little cautious, obviously. I think my dad saw the Army as like a prison deferment program. No offense to us, Dave, but that's I think the way he saw it. And for the most part, it is, but that's okay. And it was the privilege of a lifetime, but you get addicted to it like anything else, right? I mean, I was retired out medically, so I didn't even get a choice. I was just doing consulting work for JSOC when I got the call for Botbuilt here. But you still, no matter how beat up you are, your thought is, when can I go back? When can I go back overseas? It's an amazing brainwashing process that takes place. Like, God bless our government. You got in my brain box. It's over. But for this, it's just something that, to me, housing is such a crucial need. And one thing I don't think a lot of people really acknowledge is how dangerous building and construction is, and how we should. I know everyone says, God bless the troops. God bless our tradesmen, our tradespeople that actually are on the job site, taking huge risks in their lives. You and I, we put on a uniform, we signed up and said, hey, if I die, I signed up for this, right? And my wife gets a fun little check and we just call it good. These people didn't sign up. They just signed up to do a job. And you are 10 times more likely to die building homes in America than you are overseas in Afghanistan during the height of the war with me and my little buddies running around the desert. That's insane to me. So for us to be able to put in place measures of construction like panelization, like we saw over at World of Modular, different types of construction, which makes the job site safer, we're going to be able to imbue into the future generations that you can do the trades, have a job well done, and still come home to your wife and kids or to your family at night and not be concerned about whether or not you're putting life in them on the line just so someone else can have a new house, because that's really not fair to them.
Yeah, definitely not. All right, so the switch happened, Brent, and here you are. You're sitting down. The software is there. How did they know that it would work with the robotics? Just from their background of writing software and working with robotics.
Yeah, Barrett, my CTO and co-founder, Barrett Ames, he is a special breed of human, to put it lightly. And one of the things we just did I've run in some special operations assessment and selection psychs, and they met with all my guys and had testing just so they can do some performance coaching. And when they talk about Barrett, the shrink, just like, what is going on there? His mind is just different because he's able to speak those two worlds in synchronicity. It's not common, I'll be honest, but the ability to take that software process and then put it into a hardware process, the 6-axis, 7-axis arms that have been on job sites, automotive lines for decades now, they're very capable, but we have not yet had the software formatting to allow them to live up to their potential, so to speak. We're now to a technological point where that threshold's been crossed, and now we can start letting through different modalities, both neural net and just programming through algorithms, having them live up to their potential in a way that is beneficial to the building community, which is very important in reducing the costs by a huge margin, which is very important, obviously, for the bottom line.
Yeah, so let's talk about the reduction of costs, and then I want to get back into the safety side. Like, where does this save people and lives and framers and trades? But when we look at production and reducing costs, walk me through how your system is doing that.
So the first thing that it's doing is it's just looking at what you actually need. So rather than sending off plans to a lumber yard or just taking a wild guess or sitting down there and counting stud by stud what you think you're going to actually need, the computer's already processed that because it's cutting and placing each piece of lumber. It's also able to look at market data and just say, hey, the 12s are trading for less than the 10s. Let's get those right now. It's taking those decision points away and reducing that actual lumber purchase in the beginning stage, 20 to 30%, which is huge, obviously. The second side of that is the actual time cost involved. So we work with Scott Saddam a lot. He's on our board of advisors. He's big into the lean methodology, right? So if he sits down and he's talking about how many trips to Lowe's are you making on the job site, and suddenly the builder's like, Oh, that costs money? Like, yes, that costs money. How much are you spending on interest on that land? Oh, yeah. So all of a sudden, when you give it a 4-week framing job, you have a huge amount of cost tied to that. So when you're able to just frame that house in a couple of hours, because the panels are all there, they're marked with precision, you know where each intersection is on each panel, it just makes it a lot easier to save that money, both in terms of time, in terms of true the lumber cost itself, and then finally in the labor savings. When we had a home go up in under 3 hours, that was done with 3 people on that job site working that. Just 3 people putting up panels and going. So that ability for them to get through 2 homes in a day rather than 1 home in a couple of weeks is a huge, huge benefit, not just for the laborer, but also for the builder or developer involved.
Sure. So then I'm assuming this equates to the safety side, because you need less labor and it's less pieces to put together, which is reducing the liability on site.
Huge liability issues, obviously the cutting issues, the walking the frame issues. There's the falls and spills that happen with traditional framing that we see time and time again. You know, everything on the OSHA Nightmare website that you see, you're able to reduce when the pieces are told how to be put together for you. You don't even need a chalk line if you don't want to, because the actual pieces are printed.
For sure. So you're just doing wall frames right now, right? You're just doing the wall panels themselves, open wall, or are they closed wall systems?
We do sheathing, but that's it right now.
Okay, so you do the wall panel with the sheathing in place right now. And then what's the future looking like?
So the future for us will involve a couple of things. One will be an insulation package. So essentially for builders to be able to go good, better, best, right? If you need just the blank wall panels that you're getting right now, perfect. Saves you time and money. If you want to have something that has like an insulation package, that's the next level for us. And then the third level, of course, is something that robots do every day. It does involve a little pre-planning, but where's your wiring system? Where's your plumbing system? And have that pre-cut so you don't have to worry about the plumbing or the electrician coming through, getting out the Sawzall, and suddenly you failed your framing inspection because he felt peckish and determined that that's where the line's going to go through. And the framing inspector, of course, comes the next day and goes, because that's where the big delays can start costing you real money.
Yeah, no, for sure, right?
Yes.
The change orders will always get you.
That's huge cash.
Yeah. So let's get into, and I'm getting a little feedback. I don't know if you are as well, but I'm hearing a little bit. But let's talk about this from how does somebody build with you? Are you becoming the manufacturer? Are you outsourcing this product? What is the plan?
So for us right now, we've been working with developers primarily. So they've come to us and said, hey, we'd like to build X number of homes. And we've been producing those here. We've got an R&D lab here in Durham, and just literally 3 or 4 minutes down the road, we have our new production facility there. We're going to be building a new, larger production facility. So the original model was do more of a hub and spoke model for what those production facilities need to be. We've been very blessed. We had the CEO of JB Hunt, who's on our board of advisors as well. He's been great at creating just a logistics package and understanding what that truly looks like from our standpoint for shipping panels out to home sites. So by putting home sites, or putting factories, I should say, within 200 to 250 miles of a home site, we really know what our true costs are, which allow us to expand nationally and globally as we go. For larger builders that we've been talking with them about something that might look more like they own the factory outright and they have our systems inside it, just because obviously a top 5 builder isn't going to be sitting there waiting in line. Well, we're helping out a top 75 builder, but we want to make sure that we are able to help every builder that wants to take advantage of robotic technology through our own systems. And that also involves us just owning those lines personally, making sure that we have the top quality going out and not necessarily having to trust anyone else to do it.
Sure. Listen, everybody, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. And I believe we're also live on some of Brent's channels as well, which is awesome. If you have questions, now's the time to put your questions in. I do see a lot of comments coming through already on all sides of it, so we appreciate you joining us today. We have Botbuilt on. We are talking about building it better, using robotics, using automation, and using a software system that can take all the information from your plans, whether it's a CAD file or just a PDF, and bring it in and start building. So let's get into it. Right now, what's the territory that you're building currently or have projects happening?
Primarily in the Southeast United States. So we've built so far in Northwest Arkansas. That's just an area that is growing like crazy. Obviously, the Bentonville area, I think Walmart, Tyson, JB Hunt, et cetera. It's grown leaps and bounds, but the labor has not. So that's been an area of great need for us there. And then here in North Carolina, obviously, now we're going to start working with some builders here in our own backyard that are looking, from each different perspective. It's kind of been fun. In the Southeast especially, you have this just microcosm of rules and regulations. Bentonville, Arkansas, one of the areas we've built in, literally has the same sustainability regulations as Northern California, which if you would have guessed that, you are a better man than I.
Yeah.
Like, did not expect that at all. Whereas, in North Carolina, we've got one set of builders that wants to work with us because they want to be the greenest builder on the planet. So they want to make sure that they are not wasting a single piece of wood. So they want to work with us. We have another person just like, I ain't got no labor. Okay, cool. We're going to work together. So it's an interesting set here. And then we'll just start pushing west as we go and expand towards the Western United States. Obviously, your Arizonas, Utahs, Texas, the boom is real there and just kind of always is, quite frankly.
Sure. And what about the lumber that you're using? Do you need a better grade lumber when working with the robots using your system?
No, this is where the genius of the team really pays off, is their ability to build and develop a computer vision system that lets us see when that bow or that warp or that bend, whatever it might be, is actually, getting in the way of that being a straight and perfect 16 on center, whatever it needs to be for that panel. Our ability to work with just wet rack, whatever you got at Home Depot type of lumber. We use stud grade lumber. You can see some of the bows and warps and the wood from the panel being built in that video there. It makes a huge cost difference when, obviously lumber got crazy, during the COVID crisis. It's stabilized somewhat, but still to just say we use number one or imported Scottish pine or some of these other requirements for some traditional puck-based systems, that's a 40% increase in cost.
Right.
And it's not feasible in the long run for truly bringing down the cost of housing.
Yeah. And if I place an order with you, how many robots are building my house? Is it one? Is it several? How many do you need to actually complete a line that builds a home?
So we've built all of our homes so far just on these same 2 robots that you saw in that video there. Our other robotic systems at the other factory are a different brand. We've built our software to work with different types of robots, which is obviously important for not being constrained in supply chain. You can just basically expand that sell out because we've built with robots that are a lot less expensive. You can literally go on eBay. If you guys are looking for great gifts for friends and family, go on eBay, get yourself a 2,500 pound robot. They're fantastic. Strongly recommended. But that little cell there and that, let's call it a 30 by 30 space, that can build every single type of panel because they use what we call the tool belt, different tooling systems to put on the sheathing, to free nail, to route out the window frames, etc. And then you can just expand that if you need a larger factory with a lot more production, or it can just be done by those 2 robots there, just depending on what you actually need to do. By having that flexibility built into the system, we're not beholden to having a need for, I will never have to look at a factory space and go, how many hundreds of thousands of square feet is it? If you give me a good office space, I can plunk down a couple of bots and they can start building your home.
I mean, that's incredible to me. So if I was let's say I was a builder in South Carolina, and you're not in South Carolina yet, or here in Florida, and I said, Brent, I want to do this here. I have warehouse facility ready to go. I have some money that I could buy a couple of robots. Would I be able to partner with you and work with you to build this out?
Yeah, we wouldn't have you buy the robots. We would instead just partner with you to create a contract system where we'd be producing X number a month, and we would just move down our robotic systems and install them in your facility, whatever that size of space you have. If it's closer to your facility, that's good. Down the line, just so yes, kind of where we're going with this. Obviously, we're moving towards over the next couple of years with a roof and flooring system because that's a real need. The roof truss wait list is gigantic, but we're doing it with a little bit different methodology there. And then where we'd like to see this go is to where we're putting robots both on trailers or in tents and having them at the actual job sites. Because for larger developments, if you're talking about a 300, 400, 500 home community, that's a lot of shipping, and it's just unnecessary when you're talking about robots that can literally self-calibrate using our motion capture system instead. So that's a big win for us. That's a little bit down the road, but we're currently working on that technology today.
Yeah, well, Michael Bruce is in the audience. Hey, Michael, I hope all is good from Gulf Shores, Alabama. He did say, can you bring the systems to the job site?
Yes, that's the real goal for us, because it not only cuts down on the shipping times, but it also, just from a convenience factor of the builders themselves, allows you to just be taking in those panels and putting in whatever plan you have at the time. If there's a change order, you need to change a panel, having that flexibility there makes a huge difference. So that is really a goal for us. Right now, the factory-based system is awesome. You obviously have a controlled environment. You have this indoor setting. It makes it a lot easier on the people working with the system. But Michael, you're spot on. For convenience sake, it does need to be there.
Yeah, he's a pretty smart guy. But based on what Michael does, which is a lot of the laser 3D scanning of sites to make sure that the offsite components and the on-site components match up and work. My next question is going to be this, right? When you're doing a large project and you're only doing wall panels, how do you know that when they show up, the guy on site or gal on site or whoever on site, is level and square? If you're not doing a full system, which would be the walls, the floors, wall, roof, and stairs.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of that comes down to, well, first of all, we we way overthought this problem set because we were very concerned about that. Not just how the panels would be put together on site, how they would understand where they need to be, really just by squaring them before they leave. So when they're shipped out, they're good to hook. And also with the way that, if you have an overly, let's call it the brownie tin overflowing foundation, you might have some problem sets, but you'd have that same problem set with traditional framing in general there. For us, it was actually much more of an easy fit because they're precisely built with the robotic systems. Those panels know exactly where they need to go. When they're printed and said that panel 7 goes next to panel 8, and then panel 5 is going to intersect panel 7 here, the build process there becomes a whole lot easier, which obviously makes that whole flow go. It's a lot less trust that we had to have in the laborers, and we just learned that we can put that trust in the robotics.
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as the data is right, the robotics will do it right. I mean, that's as simple as it comes, right? That's why automobile manufacturers and so many others use robotics to reduce that human error. So I got so many questions. I love this. This is really where it needs to go. So 1, you're doing robotics. 2, it can be, the goal is to get it on site mobile for large community development. 3, it only takes a couple robots to do what you need to do. How does the robots get fed the material?
Yeah, so in the video that you see there, it's a little older. So that was using pre-cut lumber. We've since gotten rid of that. And what we did instead is we developed a system that now it can just take from 2 lumber bunks, a sheathing pile, and a header pile. Yep. So it just will pick that up. It places it in a saw system that we've developed so it can now cut its own lumber down to exactly what it needs to be, then placed on the format there. So now you just have this little setup where it's got the pressure treated, it's got the regular dimensional lumber, can be cut down the side, the sheathing pile, and the header pile over by the auto saw system. It allows it to all work together so the robots know when it needs to build XYZ panel with XYZ dimensions, it's just going to start pulling that which it needs and feeding the beast, so to speak, onto its building table, which can be modulated in size and shape.
Yeah. What am I missing here? It sounds too easy, Brent. I mean, it's kind of like the best laid plans. You always got to be prepared for something to go south on you, and
So, yeah, everyone has a great plan until they get punched in the face, right? But working with robotics is getting punched in the face on a daily basis. So we have developed the system through very, very careful methodologies and a lot of testing, and we're going to continue to improve and iterate on that testing system. The reason it's just not, snap your fingers and everyone should be doing this is because the systems to make this actually work are very, very complex. So we make it as transparent to the builder as possible, make it as high gloss as possible. Then, hey, you send us your plan, we send you the panels. That's great. In between there is sandwiched just a ton of mathematics, computer science, and robotics technology that, quite frankly, there are very few people equipped to do. Not everyone that goes into robotics thinks, hey, I'll go into construction with this, right? They're pulled in every direction, and we're not exactly, especially as a nation, we're not just rolling, roboticists off the assembly line, basically. So for us, it comes down to a real dedicated process of scientists and really passionate people who understand what this problem set can do to improve the lives of everyone around the world, and then just get after it with the mathematics. I mean,
listen, it's all software, it's all software capable, right? I guess the way to say it is it's the data it's the software that can accept the data that's needed to run the robot is where everybody's struggling with the robots in this industry, right?
Yes.
And then there's getting them in, but then there's also synchronizing all the robots down the line so everything's in sync. So as you speed up the line, it's going to affect other things in the line. So it all has to be sped up together. And this is all something that you guys have worked out or are continuing to work out.
Yeah, for us, those secondary and tertiary effects of where the actual line goes to, that's where we decided to rethink that 600 linear foot line that you're traditionally used to seeing with these robotic systems. A lot can go wrong in that space. It takes a lot of people to man that. For us, instead, just working in a smaller cell, working with 2 robotic arms with different types of tooling allows them to have the flexibility in place, and it allows the individual who is in charge of building that system out to understand where it is in that process. By the robots creating through motion planning software systems their own paths, that allows them to understand where they are in the process. I know that sounds a little bit like I'm humanizing the robots, but to a degree they have to think through that through their network system to understand where they're at, working together, working in sync in a way that, quite frankly, the human brain does not do a great job of that. And we're not great at doing that at scale, where computers will log path, and work their way down the line.
Yeah.
So tell me what I'm missing here. What am I not asking you that I should be asking you? So, because I'm feeling like it's feeling too easy, Brent, and I know the SEALs make things look easy, but it's never that easy. And I think, if you solve this software issue with the robotics and the synchronization of the robotics and how it grabs the wood and nails the wood. The robots are nailing. And I saw another question in here as well. Are they pre-drilling all the holes as well?
Not yet. We still do the drilling for like anchor bolts and such on the job site because that's an important part of where a human error can come into play. We just make that as easy as possible, and that the easiest thing to do is defer that to the job site. For us, to use the old SEAL quote, I guess, no easy day, right? And I wasn't a SEAL, so no one give me any flack about this. But there is never an easy day here, and so for us, there have been a couple of headwinds that are real, and you see these every day, and you do a good job of highlighting these headwinds. And one is the "we always did it this way" culture. So for me, change management at any scale requires you to understand the culture in which you're operating. We didn't just walk into foreign countries, right, and do some type of foreign internal defense mission and just say, hey, don't worry, America's here. Now you're a democracy, right? It doesn't work out well. You have to understand the game you're playing. For us, we really got to know the builder's culture and where the game is played right now, what rules, regulations, and the bureaucrats that are in charge of all of that are really stymieing the system. And different, obviously, regions have different regulations that are involved. And then the headwinds for us, technologically speaking, also involve making sure that it's usable at a level that the builder can understand. So for us, we don't want to make it so you have to hire 7 robotic PhDs to operate each robotic system. We want to make it so that Joe Blow off the street can come in, hit a button, and start building. That takes time. We're not there yet, quite frankly, as far as the UX goes, but we're working on that.
Got it. Well, I love it, man. I love it. So let's give it a couple shout outs to people here in the audience, see what they got going on. And Gilbert Meyer, hey, from Honduras. You're around the world today, watching from the beach and I don't even know, how do you say that? Go ahead.
Chacahal.
It sounds like somewhere I want to be. That's what it sounds like.
It's a beach. Let's go with that.
Yeah. What you do incorporating automation and robotics, considering using it on our timber frame construction technology. Awesome. Gilbert's big into the building world in Honduras in that area, so always good to see you. Michael, we said hello to you a few moments ago. Hey, William Lyles, Future Frame in the Houston, Texas area. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining us today. All right, we're over in China now. Derek Coburn. Derek, the Lumenkosh from Shenzhen, China. 1 a.m. for me, so please keep it interesting or I'll fall asleep on the keyboard. Well, all right, so here we go. Let us know you're still there. Then we'll know if it was interesting.
Exactly.
How about that? Throw something back at you there. Thank you so much for joining us overseas as well. Hey, Rudy, we got Rudy from Tel Aviv. Hi, from Tel Aviv. Good to see you. That's what's great about this. We have a global audience. We have a global conversation happening from around the world. So we really appreciate and hope all is well for you over there. Hey, Gregory, what's happening? Hello, gentlemen. Good to see you as well. Brent, we're just about at 40 minutes. What did we not talk about? What do you want people to know? How do people do business with you? Now's your chance. Let's put it out there and go with it.
Well, if you want to do business or just learn more, or just curious, or want to harass me, you can go to our website, www.botbuilt.com, and just send us some information, contact us there, let us know who you are and what you'd like to know, and we're happy to answer any and all questions. And as far as what we didn't cover here, this is an all hands on deck problem. So I cannot speak enough, and I know people that see me at IBS and a few other events know that I get a little passionate about this, but we are not going to solve the labor and housing crisis just one company at a time. This is something where a lot of different technologies, a lot of different building styles, and a lot of different ideas are going to have to come to the table and converge and work together to actually solve what we are dealing with out there, which is a dwindling labor supply and an increasing need for housing. So if you are passionate about this as we are, I invite you to contact us and let us know how we can work together to actually solve what is happening, not just here in the United States, but around the world when it comes to a true pandemic of lack of affordable housing. That is what we're here to do.
Yeah, love it. And it is a global community that's out there, as you can see in the comments. We had some other questions here. What about strategic partnerships and or buyouts? Are the big builders that you've been talking to really embracing the system? And do you ever fear they'll just take it and try and put you out of business?
That's something I've witnessed happen to friends and family along the way as they've built up businesses. It's something we're wary of. We've made sure that lawyer Christmas is always good. So our patents are strong and our technology is protected in that area. You know, obviously working on the other side of the fence, I'm used to understanding what it is to protect proprietary. The other thing is, though, the builders they just want to do it. So the bigger guys out there, they don't want to have anything to do with this, and that's okay. They don't want to do with the technology. They just want our system. And so we're happy to partner with them. We don't fear, the over-aggressive M&A play or anything like that, because they know what they do well, and that's develop land. We know what we do well, and that's work with new technologies.
So the partnership is there to be had, is what that sounds like to me.
Exactly.
And what about the Ivory Prize? Let's end on a high note. How awesome is that?
That is a true honor. Their team is awesome. We've seen who's been honored with these prizes and finalists in the past. They're all the who's who of new technology. Just a great team over there. Great group of people. I got to meet with Clark Ivory. Just honestly a very humble dude in general, but amazing that he is focused on building up these team of teams to solve a real problem with his own money. I think that is incredible and amazing. And aside from the honor that it is to be awarded as a finalist, the connections that we've made and the friendships that are developing from those connections have been outstanding. So we cannot thank them enough. And we're just honored to be a part of a team with such great other finalists as well. So it's always fun.
Yeah, well, it's always fun. They've been doing the Ivory Prize for quite a few years now, and it really truly is an honor to be even listed, let alone win, right? So congratulations on that.
It's fun. We're seeing other people right here in Durham, North Carolina, like planted down the road. It's kind of fun. We're building a little construction tech mecca hub right here in the Wacky area. So come on out sometime.
I'd love to see you out the back door planted. All of a sudden you're using grass 2x4s then. I mean, the possibilities are ended. Or maybe you should be using their sheathing.
Josh Dorfman, if you're listening, sell me your sheathing right now. Sell it to me, Josh. I know he's watching this.
Hey, you didn't point. You got to point. You got to make it serious. There it is. There it is. All right, listen, Brent, thank you so much for joining us today. Don't go anywhere. We'll come back to you after the show. But for the rest of you out there, hey, it is hump day. Guess what that means? That means you got a few more days left to build it better. It doesn't mean we're almost through the week. It means we have 2 more days left to get it done. Let's have fun doing this. Let's bring the youth back into it. Let's bring special operations into it. We're seeing more and more. There's a lot of people out there trying to make a difference in this world. Brent and Botbuilt is one of them. So reach out, say hello, and do some business. And for the rest of you, we're on vacation, but we will see you Friday with Mark Willie, Bare Naked Willie, that is, on BS Friday. So join us for some building science. I'm Dave Cooper, and my friend that way, Brent Wattis. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Bye now.
What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you, and as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.